time for Shiny Side Out with Dave and Mecky. So I hope you have your tinfoil hat all made and cinched down tight over your ears. So take it away, Dave and Mecky.
Welcome to Shiny Side Out with Dave
and Mecky
on WZZR, broadcasting though from Australia for Revolution Radio, and you can find them on revolution.radio. Wow, that's a revelation. Where it's more than just radio, so jump into the chat room if you can. This is show number 314.
410 and 300. 100.
Right on cue and with reverb. It's on air, online, and on your smart device, so grab an app to listen anywhere or listen at home on a Grace Tabletop digital radio. If you missed Solaris's show, and here's a little trick that I've got to do. Hang on, just swap screens. There we go. She had Selene Tari Abadaka on, and they were talking about divine feminine. Actually, with the part that I heard at the end, they were talking about the Akasha record and all sorts of things. It was awesome. So, you need to get into the archives. The archives do not cost very much. They do cost you something, but it's not very much. In Australia, it's about a coffee worth of access, but you know what? A coffee only lasts for a couple of hours. This gets you a whole month's worth of access for $5.95 a month. And you need to go to freedomslips.com or the new website, revolution.radio. Now, Mecky and I, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. Where I live, it's the Darkinjung and Mecky.
The Daruk people.
The Daruk people. And we pay respects to elders past, present, and future. And let us all remember that beneath our houses, concrete roads, and buildings are lands which have had stories passed down for over 240,000 generations. That's something to remember. Mecky, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. What's happening?
Oh, you know, last week's daylight savings problems, we have it all over the place.
I know. Hey, it's technology for you, man. You didn't get... See, the problem is we didn't patch it. There was no patch, okay? So we have to patch it. Once you patch it, it's all good.
Oh.
But this week was smooth, though. I mean, last year, I think I missed half the show because we didn't know it was on earlier or something like that. Or maybe you missed half the show. So, something happened, right? And we go, the show's on. No, it's not. And then Dave Smith, a friend of the show, goes, hey, and my brother as well. How come you're not on the air? Your show's on. What?
What time is it? Oh, we got heaps. We got a whole hour, another hour.
It's show o'clock.
It's show o'clock. You know, Mecky, what year is this? It's the 7th year now we're on air.
Yes. Yeah, this is it.
And every year we have 4 changes of daylight saving, whether it's in our country or it's where the home station is in Kentucky. Now, what's odd about that is the whole country, the whole world, Mecky, surely can't just be on whatever time it is and just be done with it. But no, they've got to change time. Change time, why? Because it fades your curtains. Change time, why? Because it's better for the farmers. What?
So actually, the only reason that it was Benjamin Franklin who thought it up, and in his time that was good. Because in his
time, Mecky.
No, I know, right? That's when it happened, though, and he started daylight savings because he was saving candles. So because candles weren't cheap, plus there was no electric light, so I mean it was a lot harder to light your house. So you had to have something, and candles were, like I said, not that cheap. And he said, well, you know what? I'll give you all a perceived extra hour of daylight, perceived, because clearly all we're doing is we're shifting the day an hour, right? And so you're going to burn less candles. That's it. That's farmers and fading the curtains. Hey, when we should go to the sun? You know when we should land a man or woman these days on the sun? At night, because it's cooler.
Yes. It's much cooler.
What?
Well, it's off.
What?
It's off then.
It's off at night. That's what happened. Switch. No, look, there's no longer a good reason. Actually, there isn't. There's no good reason to maintain daylight savings of any description at all in our society, especially especially because we're such a global society. I mean, okay, think about it this way. Most of the things we do are no longer determined by the circadian rhythms. Like, sure, night-day cycles, but a lot of us are working at night. They're working night shifts. I mean, I go to the airport at some really ungodly hours, right? And like 4 a.m., 3 a.m., whatever it might be, and there's people on the road. Maybe not as many as during the day, but sure enough. I went to India. I went to Delhi airport, and I landed. I think it was actually 3 a.m. when I landed, local time, 3 a.m. So okay, well, clearly it was still quite hot when it's actually quite hot. But anyway, so we're driving, dude. The streets were packed. The streets were packed with people, peddling their wares. Something. This is 3 a.m. But when do you people sleep? Of course, it's a shift thing. I'm sure there's a shift thing going on, right? People go home, and then the new crowd comes in. Old crowd goes home. New crowd comes in. But yeah, so we no longer live lives that are determined really by either the seasons or even by something as simple as a day-night cycle. I mean, it's really arbitrary. I mean, we've broken away from almost anything that is regimented or scheduled. I mean, the last thing to go was TV in a way, right? Because you can only watch TV when when it was on. That's when it's on. These days, well, you watch TV whenever you like. You watch whatever you like, whenever you like. And all of that is sort of gone down by the wayside. In fact, it used to be that the only good family time you could get was in front of the TV. Now everybody's watching their thing on their own device, right? Even that has sort of disappeared. So no, daylight savings in short is a complete and utter waste of time. Mackie out.
Oh, well, it played havoc also with our recording here and the station's recording of our show from last week.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, completely. It only did 1 hour, and it only did the first hour.
Oh, really? That's
yeah, because believe it or not, that's exactly what happened.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So Nighthawk, the station owner, said, "Oh, look, Dave, if you've got your recording of it, why don't you?" Oh, that's a bit weird. Oh well, all right, sure, no worries. Don't be alarmed. I'll fix that. And I had a look, and it was only an hour here as well. It's like, what? How is that even possible?
That's strange. Is it? But they didn't happen to be the opposite hours. They're the same hour, right? That's what you're saying.
It was the first hour, so it ceased.
Yeah.
It ceased at the time the show would have finished, according to all the other times. Every time we've ever done the show. Very funny that it did that. And so
in that case, I think, just for everybody, I think we're going to start when we enter the tinfoil hat zone, which is page number 20. That's when we start talking about Hans Kammler, so I'll give a little bit of intro in a second. But I think that's where we should start then, because it's important that we get that. I mean,
completely.
The religion in Germany and all that, well, you can read up on that yourselves, all right? So find out about that Christian thing in Nazi Germany on your own. A bit of homework for everybody. But it's been an interesting week, right? I mean, and today, Dave, here in my neck of the woods, it's like 40 degrees, 40.
Yeah.
In fact, we're rapidly going into autumn, but it's still 40 degrees. How hot is it up in Narara?
Well, okay, we hit the 100 in Fahrenheit for everyone out there at 38. However, it's a new record. Remember how every single year we've been on air, and I said, this year we hit a record. This the hottest day, the hottest week, the hottest fortnight, the hottest month, the hottest quarter, the hottest year.
Yep.
Well, we've just had another record broken, and once again, we shouldn't have any records broken ever if the system is a closed system. I'm not doing flat Earth. I'm just saying, if it was a closed system, then there shouldn't be any changes and nothing should be ever different. But today, I'll tell you, I went out in the sun and it was cooking my skin.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely.
38 degrees, 40 degrees, Mickey. That's a new Sydney record.
Yeah, I know it is for March. It certainly is. It's and again, guys, you have to understand our summer months here in Australia are December, January, and February. So March, especially 18th of March, plants you firmly into autumn territory, or fall, as our American friends like to call it. So 40 degrees. I mean, I don't remember. I mean, I remember warm days in March, like 30s, sure. I mean, that's nice. I mean, that's why Australia is such a pleasant place to live, or Sydney, to be specific. But 40? That's January. That's December, January weather. 40. Of course, it isn't. It isn't anymore because now it's 45, 46, 47.
That's
Right.
right.
That's so. See, Dave is right. So this is the kicker. This is hilarious. I mean, we have to. Okay, so I want you to think about this while I say it. Global warming, climate change. Forget global warming. Climate change is a hoax. That's a headline. Climate hoax to change. However, we now have to coin new phrases for the weather we're experiencing because we've never experienced this weather before. It's not a 1 in a 100 year or 1 in a 1,000 year storm. No, that's not what it is. It's a completely new thing. We've never experienced this. So we have to, what's it called? Like a bomb storm or whatever it's called? I can't remember. It's this crazy thing, right? And tornadoes too. We have to call them something else now, right? So we have not experienced this weather before. It's not like, oh, it happens once in a while, sure, okay, I get it. No, this has never happened that we remember anyway, right? And we remember quite a far way back. So we have to call the weather we now experience something new. That's it. I mean, next year we might call it the nuclear storm, right? because each lightning strike has the force of 10 megaton nuclear weapons. I don't know, but the thing is,
did you know that they're interested now in doing what they did in Australia, and how I said they. How we reported when they did that, a couple of years back. Yeah. They said the weather is never going to be as cool as it's going to get hotter. So what we're going to do, we're going to add another 10 degrees color bracket from 45 to 55.
Yeah.
And that's now going to be colored black, noir, black, right? So they did that, and now they're happy gone because we've done that thing. It doesn't matter anymore. It can go higher. We don't care.
Yeah, we've done it.
We don't care. The hottest temperature you can have without damaging your skin is 50 degrees, right? So anyway, I just as an aside, now in America, Mackie, they've just announced that we think, this is the scientist, that we should add another, instead of Cat 5 storm, hurricane, I think we should make a Cat 6 now.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the last one boarded right on it. I think we would have called it a Cat 6 if we had one. Now we're going to make one called Cat 6. Can you think of how devastating that would be?
Oh, dude. I mean,
right?
we all remember Cat 5, any Category 5 storm, hurricane, tornado that hits anywhere. I mean, Katrina, probably, that was the one of the most devastating, right? I mean,
hurricanes.
So imagine one stronger than that. Yeah, that's very bad.
So the conditions required, Mackie, to make a storm of that size is only warmer ocean. Now, are they telling us the ocean is warmer? No, because they're not telling us anything. Yeah. There we go. We're not going to get monetized for that at all. I've got a segue coming up for that, but Mackie,
okay.
Back to you.
So look, you're right though. This is the problem that the information is only half baked that we get, and you have to inform yourself. So as this weather is changing and the climate is changing with it, because again, climate is accumulated weather. That's what it is. Climate equals accumulated weather. So you got a certain kind of weather over 100 years. That's your climate. That's where you live in, right? It's nice. It's not nice. It's cold. It's hot. Whatever. The problem, though, is a knock-on effect here, and Dave, this is something that's very important for everybody out there, and they call us crazy preppers. I have always enough food in my house to last me at least a month.
Yep.
Food and water, at least a month. I'm good for a month. I'm not gonna have cordon bleu every night, but I've got beans. Beans are good. Canned beans, right? They'll keep you alive, and some water. So
some flour and water.
Yeah, that'll help.
Mm-hmm.
And have the means to make fire if you have to as well. It's good. That's not a bad idea. Like a barbecue, like not a gas barbecue, but like an old charcoal. But the point here I'm trying to make is, as we are moving into these weather events, there are three distinct areas I'd like to highlight here. One, the warming and the ensuing thawing, and the ensuing, I guess, release of certain gases. That's all bad. But what it also is doing, it's changing our viral and bacteriological landscape. Mm-hmm. So viruses are being released that haven't been around for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years sometimes, especially from the tundra, which is in Siberia. Up in Siberia, it's mostly permafrost that is now actually melting. for the first time in thousands of years, releasing all kinds of things. So that's a bad thing. So if you add to that the fact that it gets warmer elsewhere as well, you have all of a sudden mosquitoes and other insects, not just insects though, that are a lot more prolific, and they move across borders and they move into areas that previously hadn't. So diseases are spreading further. So disease, one, that's my first one. Second, infrastructure. As we are going into these heat waves, a lot of countries' grids, electricity grids, are overtaxed. They're just overtaxed. Nothing you can do. It's just how it is. And they might even collapse, which leads to further issues. So it's bad enough it's hot, but let's imagine the electricity goes. Right? I mean, that would be shocking. And then finally, there is the problem of the rising waters. Right? Yeah. So let's say the water rises, right? Because it'll happen. It's melting, right? It's melting. So not only will the water rise, this is something people don't understand. What happens, there's millions of tons of ice on the Antarctic. It's what it's doing, it's depressing the continent, right? It's depressing the landmass. You take that weight off, the Arctic will rise out of the water, right? And we don't yet know what kind of knock-on effect that has on the other continents. We don't know what it'll do to the tectonic plates. But think about it. Even small earthquakes, or smallish in the scheme of things, have caused devastating tsunamis, right? So and then they've got knock-on effects, of course, from things like that. So if the Antarctic is rising, right, because the weight is off, right, then the water levels will change. There will be tsunamis. There will be earthquakes. So overall, it is a devastating picture, really, that we're facing. And I'm not saying it's the end of things, of course not, but it certainly requires us to be a lot more aware and a lot more present and a lot more prepared to deal with these things, right, Dave?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, indeed. There's a difference between the Arctic and the Antarctic ice, and the Antarctic ice is sitting on land, and that 2 miles of ice, when it melts, will contribute to a sea level rise that will take it back to the time when there was no Arctic or Antarctic ice, which, for all intents and purposes, will flood every low-lying flat area that you're familiar with in the area in which you live. Okay, that's just what's going to happen. It's not going to make it rain anymore, but the temperature of the planet determines whether it's going to rain more or less, and it's the shifting of that humidity from one zone to another which will condense it from warm to cold, right? That's just what happens.
Yeah.
The storm densities will increase if the ocean temperature is warmer. That's just a given. That's what it does. In fact, the Earth has a pretty good air conditioning system, and it moves this air around all the time. One of the points Maggie made earlier was the viral component of the ability for a virus to actually be sustained and grow in transit is what we're actually seeing at the moment too. There's some conjecture whether the new viruses are actually arriving because of, dirty space and whatever. I'm not going to go there, but, panspermia is alive and well. The new things that have been frozen in the ice caps, in the permafrost being released, that's a very big danger. The whole Mars thing, going to a planet we've never been to and encountering whatever it's there, is really, really bad. I can imagine every person that takes, a breath of air in, defrosted soil in Mars, just keeling over and dying from something that we're not familiar with. Our bodies haven't got any natural protection against. That's another thing. But just as a viral segue here, I heard that Trump had removed the restrictions upon which scientists in the US had been unable to create viruses in the labs. And then this has been lifted. Oh. And I think that's... seriously, you're going to create a virus. What's a virus going to do? Oh, well, whatever we want it to do. Oh, make you bleed out your eyeballs. Awesome.
Hooray!
Great. Yay.
Finally, dude, I've been waiting forever for that one. I mean, seriously, what?
Finally.
Come on, right?
I know.
But fine. Okay, look, we're getting it. All good.
All right. So, yeah. So, maybe how science fiction actually influences science. So, all of those things that we've ever wanted to dream about have been written about and dreamt about by the authors of science fiction novels. Those people end up growing up who have read them and are striving to make that thing happen that they wanted, like hover cars and hoverboards and, wristwatch video phones and things. Well, we've got that stuff. We've got the video phone thing. You have the wristwatches now you can do voice calling on and video calling. Fantastic. Good for you guys. Where's my hover car? So these people that we've been restricted so long, they've been held back, probably in secret underground government. There goes the monetization again. Underground bunkers have been developing stuff anyway, because there's like the chimpanzee conspiracy theories, a whole bunch of them. But I just want you to know that I'm sure it's already going on. You don't want this stuff to come out, but if anyone that was working on it goes, hey boss, guess what? I've made a zombie virus. That's the last you're going to hear about it, right?
So to be clear, if you look at the zombieism per se, and I'm not saying that we can resurrect the dead. I'm not saying we can't, but I'm saying we have. But if you look at rabies, for example,
yeah, that's pretty bad.
And in fact, rabies is or a version of rabies is what was meant to be the virus in 28 days later. If you saw it, right, a modified or weaponized version of rabies.
It constricts the throat, and you can no longer consume food or water. You can't swallow anything.
But it also makes you insanely angry and aggressive, right? So you attack just anything. So anyway, but look, can it be done? Yeah, absolutely. Anything can be done. Anything can be done. That's the problem.
West Nile virus is the closest to it that I think that exists today. And West Nile virus has both the muscle tissue scarring, which will debilitate you to a point where your motion is affected, and it also affects the brain. Yep. And so if you affect the brain to the point where all you're thinking about is the simple things of life, like eating brains, and then you've got like a limp or a stagger or something, there's your zombie.
Yeah.
It's not very much. I mean, it's not a big leap with that virus, and it's everywhere. No one really knows how it's propagating. They sort of guess birds. That's pretty much it. But the US has got more of that than anything else, and it's not a deadly virus. It can come and go. You don't really know. But Mackie, this prevalence of these winter and summer viruses is that's going off the scale, and it's because of our connectivity, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep. It is.
I thought you had more than that. That's
no. Look. Okay. Look. I can't. Okay. No, fine. All right. You asked for it. So the problem is, of course, that we're extremely mobile. We can travel extremely fast. So any outbreak that we would be faced with would be transmitted across the globe in a matter of hours, possibly, but certainly days. Because we travel. I mean, we can travel supersonic, speed. We can travel around the world, actually around the world in a day. We can fly around the world in a day. Mm-hmm. We can hop. We can probably. Let's say we start in Australia. Okay, so Sydney to Dallas, Dallas to New York, New York to Paris, Paris to I don't know. Let's say Dubai, Dubai to Singapore, Singapore to Beijing, and then how many hops is that? 7, 8? I mean, seriously. I mean, that's just nuts, right? It's just crazy stuff. Anyway, what can I say? But the problem is that we are living in an age of immense potential and amazing things, miracles, you could say, right? But at the same time, we are now also subject to potentially horrific outcomes and unthought of or undreamt of horrors that we can visit upon ourselves. Yeah. So there you go.
I mean, I think sometimes about the Mayan and Aztecs being wiped out, and you only have to see, blue-green algae, or the river turning red, for instance, as another example, where there's a bacteria in the water that blooms so readily that it makes the water toxic to consume it. And that's certainly that kind of event, which we've seen since I've been alive, in the later last 10 years, happening every other year somewhere. And it's the warming of the water. The cold water streams don't have that problem.
Yep.
It's only the warming. So once we start to warm, you're going to see more of these things. And I think that could be a likely cause for me. I'd be happy seeing that was what happened to them, rather than, they just said, like dolphins said goodbye and thanks for all the fish. See how I did that one? But it has me going. I've been looking at the records of the climate change and the sea level rise really closely, and I've mapped them out and I've shared them with Meki, and there's a distinct lack of reporting of the actual sea level heights from the same websites that you can get historical data from, and they seem to stop around 2009. And as I played a clip that I think it was a physicist was talking about it, defending his position on I think it was not QI, Becky, it was the other one on the ABC.
Okay, not Q&A.
Q&A he was on. So on Q&A, he defended his position with some facts and said that the sea level rose, and I'm not going to say the date because I can't remember which year it was. It was like 2012 or something, by 40 mil in a single year. Right?
That's a lot. That's a lot.
And this is from the people who say, oh, it's all good, you just keep buying waterfront property, it'll be fine.
No. You buy inland property, which will become waterfront property.
That's what you do. Yes. So
right? Come on, guys.
I took the message the wrong way, Mickey. I bought half of New South Wales now.
Dude, that's why I'm here. That's my job, okay? It's all good.
So, look, going from that news to something, I've got to mention this. And I've just finished working for one company, and I'm now working for another. And I was just catching up with one of my friends, and her daughter last October was involved in a really bad accident, and she was injured beyond your darkest nightmare, and was in a coma for a long time, unable to speak or move any limbs at all, is starting to recover, has come out of a coma.
That's good news. That's good.
Yes, this is the good part. Yeah. However, did you know how much of a gap there is between the government funding and there's the NDIS and all this stuff?
It's called massive. It's a massive gap. Yes.
That's what it's called. It's when you're applying for the NDIS, it's the gap. So instead of just there is a gap, there's a massive gap. Even insurance won't cover the gap, and it's extraordinary what kind of costs of the things that you need to support someone who's now unable to get around on their own, requires patient monitoring devices, even modifying your house to be able to allow someone who's immobilized to move around. It's absolutely crazy. So what I've done, what Jodie has done for Steph, her daughter, she's put together a GoFundMe page, and I'm going to pop it into the chat. And I do ask that everyone contributes, if you can contribute anything. This is for a lovely lady, and I don't remember meeting her daughter, but absolutely family-shattering existence now. It's a very tough place to be. If you look at your family and imagine the same thing happening, you would want people to help you. And I know that we're all as generous as we can be, so let's do what we can.
Yeah.
It's so, just, I'd have to mention just a couple of things, like apart from the physio, the modification of the house, there's even a companion dog required. There's insurance and legal costs, even the higher cost of electricity here, which is insane. I don't understand how they can roger us so hard with the amount of I mean, Mackie, I don't know about you, but mine's like $1,000 a month. It's just crazy.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean, having said that, I mean, in Australia, believe it or not, we're still lucky. No, we are. If you compare to the States. Power. Well, no, but look, it's not just that though. I mean, okay, it's expensive. Yes, it is. But I mean, there are grids out there, and especially in the States, that are about to fail, right? Well, what can I say?
Infrastructure, yeah.
It is now here. I think there's one reason we have to pay as much as we do, which is wrong. But I don't want to detract from your good message here. To please donate to this worthy cause if you can. It's in the chat. If you're listening to this, can I just read it out? HTTPS. So it's HTTPS. Then you got the colon and the // It's actually www.gofundme, one word, gofundme.com. Okay, www.gofundme. Just type in GoFundMe in Google, you get it. And where you want to go is our-miracle-girl-Steph. Our Miracle Girl Steph. The word separated by dashes. Our Miracle Girl Steph. And if you put GoFundMe in Google, you'll find it, and you can donate there. By the way, just very quickly, these sites are going to change the face of the human condition. GoFundMe, Kickstarter, Change.org, blah blah blah, all that stuff, right? That is our ability to directly interact, even with people you don't know. If someone touches your heart, if someone's idea rings true to you, those are the things that enable you to work as a global community, right? And I think this is awesome. I think GoFundMe is a good thing. If you can give, please give. But sorry, the reason we do pay so much is because our gas is exported overseas at very cheap rates, and the gas that's left here is not cheap. It's sold to us. Not cheap. Oh, it's cheap. Haha! I laugh at you. You funny man. You funny, silly little man.
Why is it sold to us at a higher cost when we don't have to ship it anywhere? And that's because they can.
Someone's making money. Someone is making big money on this, guys. Yeah. This is about money. Oh, that's a shock. What a shock. You think money is the motive here? No, you must be mistaken, surely.
Mackie, that's just a tinfoil hat speaking.
That's what that is. I'm crazy.
I wanted to... The only other thing I had to mention, and I think this one was really important, was that... Oh, hang on, I've got to find it now. Yeah, so Susan, the CEO of YouTube, and Wikipedia have gotten together.
Okay.
Now, I don't mean they're doing something to propagate the species of humans. I mean, what they've done is they've joined their idea together. The idea of a great world where no one talks about conspiracy theories.
Oh, really?
On YouTube. Yeah, completely. Now, what they've done is they've decided that if it's listed in Wikipedia as a conspiracy theory, they're going to either delete the channel or demonetize it. Now,
there you go.
There's a couple of things that are really funny. One is HARP, for instance, is shown in Wikipedia as a conspiracy theory. Now, what the irony is, of course, with HARP was about, weather modification. What was it really for? Well, the conspiracy theory regarding HARP and weather modification was actually on the proposal that they submitted to be able to get the funding for HARP in the first place. Mm-hmm. HARP is also described in the military papers on the .mil website, but you've got to go back in the Wayback Machine to find the document because it's been deleted. But you can do it in the Wayback Machine. And you can find that it was also there to detect other people's HARP devices and their controlling of your weather. So weather is a weapon. I like this, weather as a service, Mackie.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Why aren't we selling that? We should be selling that. But the problem is no one's selling it because they don't want to be caught as responsible should something happen financially, of course. They want to be caught financially. So no one's claiming they can do any of this. However, the actual device itself was made for it. And then you can detect whether other people are doing it to you with the same device. I love that it can do all this stuff. It's like they should sell it on KTEL. Should be on one of those infomercials at night time. Buy your own harp. Yeah,
you don't like the weather we are? Make your own weather.
Make your own weather. That's right.
You don't like your neighbor? Have him snow it out. That's what
So they talk about the denial of water or the excess of water that you could deliver rather than cloud seeding. You can just do this, and that's what their product was meant to do. What it's documented as in the .mil website. And so it sort of doesn't this do what I've always hated about Wikipedia, is that the information in Wikipedia is either not accurate or you're prevented from making it accurate, even suggesting that there should be some change to it. I know you and I have had struggle with that, right?
Yeah, actually, I went on a number of times to try to edit. Really innocent. Like these are non-crucial things, right? Just nah, denied. Why? No. Okay.
It's got to be peer reviewed. Yeah, but I'm changing the word of to off because it was misspelled. Oh, I can't do that.
Nope.
No.
Consensus.
Consensus. Who can I have consensus with you? Oh dear, editor. No.
You're not part of the consensus group.
Who's that? We can't tell you. So, look, Mecky and I both fumbled into the same thing, and it's extremely difficult. I believe some of the stuff there, when there's an article with any details, it's really difficult to believe any of the specific details on it. But this is the thing. Because of that, because YouTube and Wikipedia have decided to get together and say, we're not going to do any of that, I want to see how long Flat Earth stuff stays there. Because you know what? If you remove all the conspiracy theories, right, from YouTube, all you're going to get left with is unboxing videos, right, where someone gets a Disney toy and unboxes it, right, and game theory and film theory. But that's it.
But there's actually, sorry, to be very clear though, and I hate to be semantically anal about this.
Go on.
But a conspiracy theory per se would be, or even a conspiracy story, it would be, for example, the gun powder plot to blow up Parliament. Guy Fawkes many moons ago. The assassination of JF Kennedy is still not a closed book, all right? Even by officials. There are other things as well.
It was a court case. The magic bullet, surely.
That's what it is. I'm so sorry. Hogwarts magic bullet solves the case. No, look. The thing is that the word conspiracy itself.
Bad luck on it.
Right? No, but the word conspiracy itself has taken on a negative meaning like conspiracy. Right. Automatically, conspiracy is associated with something outlandish and crazy, like when George Bush said. But he made the point of when 9/11 happened. We will not believe any outlandish or crazy conspiracy theories connected to this. On the day it happened, he already said no, because he knew they're coming.
That's right.
And in his case, the conspiracy theory, the crazy outlandish one, is that it's the official story. In fact, right. So that's really the problem with that. Yeah. But the problem is that we can no longer, I guess, trust all the news sources, and there are a lot of conspiracy theories out there which are proven true. For example, people used to think, the communists burned down the Reichstag building in Berlin. They didn't. The Nazis did, and blamed the communists. Okay, so conspiracy theories per se are not outlandish or crazy, especially once they're borne out. Mind control experiments.
Oh, that's right. Can't talk about MK Ultra.
Well, but bear with me. The Montauk experiments, the documents have been disclosed. Several universities and schools and public institutions were in league with the people conducting these experiments. That's a fact. It's not a conspiracy theory. You can look it up yourself. The documents have been released. Oh, it'll never happen again. Sure.
It's probably happening now, and to you.
It never stopped. This is the thing, though, right? I mean, but this is, and I'm really worried. I'm really worried because
Control of the media, Mackie.
well, it is of course, but see well, there's that. But you know what the good thing is? YouTube is just going to go down the gurgle because the interesting stuff on YouTube is exactly all that stuff. There'll be nobody left watching. To your point, it'll be videos unboxing toys, playing with them. That's what it'll be, and nobody be interested in any of it, right? Because it's not interesting.
MySpace is still good, isn't it?
Yeah, because think about it. Think back 7 years, Dave, before we started, right?
I remember that.
Yeah, exactly, right. I mean, dimly, right? I had hair, but it's not true. I didn't have hair then. The thing for us was we would go to dinner parties and people would be interested in listening to what we had to say, and they only had to listen to it for the duration of the dinner party or any party really, right? And then if they had enough, they just walked away and okay, I had enough. I don't want to hear anymore. Okay, cool. This is the same. YouTube is the same. You can pick and choose what you want to see, what you want to watch. And you know, and you go, oh, this is interesting. Wow, you know, and then you can walk away from it. But if you can't, it's. I mean, it's entertaining. Is my point here, right? It's an entertaining thing, and people like to, you know, look at these controversial things because it's entertaining. You take it away, the audience goes.
Funny cat videos.
Funny cat. Look at that cat.
Oh, that's so cute. But this is the thing. You're right, Becky. So people have the choice, and they can vote with their feet. If they don't watch them, will they go away? Most probably. Just like advertising, isn't it? If you don't watch advertising, it'll disappear.
Well,
hang on. I'm just being shown an ad that says advertising is important. But how do we deliver? This is the advertising exec. How do we deliver the government's messages without advertising? We embed them in TV programs. That's what we'll do. This is the thing. Without the content, which is YouTube, this is the people's ability to use their voice and have others listen, just like our entertaining dinner parties. When we have a dinner party, it's a select group. Yeah, it's select. They're our friends. And, you know, they can choose to be entertained by it or not. But more than not, they would always love to be entertained by it. And then go home and comment or not comment on the way home. Gee, those guys were onto something, or maybe they're crazy. But wasn't it entertaining? Yeah, they listened to every word, Becky, and that was the point we had before we started the show.
Yeah.
Now, there's a platform. There's a soapbox. There's always been a platform, except when you start to control the media, doesn't that line up with the show topic that we're sort of talking about? We'll get to on the other side of the hour. Isn't that one of those steps? I mean, there's stepping stones, you know, from an entirely, I hesitate to use this word, democratic society. We just feel it's democratic. It's only comfort food, Mackie. Democracy is a word, right? Right? If it was a council run, or what we could do today, and this is what I think Elon Musk was saying, I was watching a lot of his videos this week, that we have the ability, because he was being asked if he establishes a brand new civilization on Mars, how is it going to be governed? And he said, well, we'll have the technology just to instantly vote on everything.
Yep.
I mean, we can do it now.
Yep.
Why aren't we doing it here? Why aren't we doing it now? But over there, it'll just work.
Good question.
It'll be the people running everything.
Yep.
And you should have seen that. I mean, it was like he says, I'm going to take your firstborn and eat them live on television. That's the face that the interviewer had. Because
really?
he was one of the CNNs and Foxes, right?
Yeah, I see.
And he was like, what? Oh, are you talking about, I can't say the word communism. It was very strange, Becky. I've never seen a face like that before. Never. It's like if you served an ice cream cone to a child, but instead of giving it to them, you show them, and then you just tip it in the bin.
Yeah.
The horror of you can't do that. So imagine, we could do that right now. We could just abandon government. Who needs them? Right? Just local councils for everything. But anyway, we could just vote. We could just simply vote. Yes. It could be a Facebook page or something. Something comes up and says, there's some current issue. push like if you want to go with that idea or something. I don't know. Yes, no.
But look, this is the thing. We just have to use the Facebook engine, put some security around it, which we can't do today. I mean, you're right. And in fact, we've spoken about this before. The technology has existed to do this for a long, long time now. But I mean, we can't leave it up to the people to make these decisions. I mean, who'd go to war? We wouldn't go to war anymore. That's just nuts. We can't do that. So fundamentally,
we'd all live perfectly peacefully.
Well, look. There are two types of good scenarios. Two types of good scenarios, right? One scenario is you have an educated population that is morally well-grounded, ethically well-grounded, making decisions for themselves, like adults do, right? We're adults. Let's act like adults. Let's not just think about our own self-interest, but let's think about the group at large, because we all have to live together. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, right? And in fact, most people would agree with that. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Let's do something sensible. Or a really, really benevolent dictator, right? Who really is worried about the people, like Pericles, probably last time that happened, 2,500 years ago, for anyone that's interested. The Periclean age for Athens, 30 years of good stuff. Good stuff. No wars, no famines, nothing. Just public works.
Crowd goes wild.
It's true though. So those are the two scenarios. Everything else in between is not really working.
There hasn't been a trustworthy group of people running the show for as far back as I can read in history books.
Yeah, that's correct.
Not the churches. Can't trust them.
Yeah.
Keep your kids at home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Politics, either out for themselves. There's been a couple of good ones that have done some things, but you don't know. You just don't know. I think that, grooming someone to be the president. Oh, goodness me, that sounded bad. Grooming someone to be the president of a country. For what reason? For what reason? Yeah? Is it... Why? Why not do was it the Aztecs, Mickey? They just put someone in power for that year. And then they killed them.
May have been, yeah. I go double check.
Rolled their head down the stairs. Whatever works.
Whoosh.
But the text, maybe just by SMS or maybe just by Facebook or whatever the platform is. I know not everyone's got it, but we'd certainly organise it so everyone could do it. We need to organise it in a way where we're not spending how many, maybe $1 billion in management of the country.
Yeah, that's about right, actually. Well, what are you saying? It's $1 billion badly spent? That's real, dude. We spent $2 billion on it, right? That's what we need. We need twice the bureaucracy.
More.
Well, are you a naysayer? Is that who you are?
Oh, I've just gone back to the pinko, lezo, communist. I'm just one of those again, aren't I now? Whenever I complain about the government, that's what I'm certainly labelled that by my father. He likes that. He doesn't use those words. He just calls me a communist. If you don't like democracy, then you're a communist. But I'm sure there's better things. It's like the fiat currency, Meki, where the accounting student said, surely there's another way to run everything. Surely we can just, use money another way and not have to be in debt for everything. Surely there is. No, this is the system we live in. There isn't any other way. We've tried nothing else, and this is it. Isn't that right?
I lost you there for a second, buddy.
Well, I'm still here.
Good.
So I was just making a joke about fiat currency and the accounting student. Oh,
he definitely killed us now. This show, we can't get any money for this show, man. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's the end of that.
What? Look, it is a little sad. It's a little funny, like life normally is. A little sad, a little funny, and but the truth is this. This is the truth, guys. You follow the money, you usually get to the truth of it, right? Follow the profit motive. I mean, everybody's got lofty ideals, and thinking this, that, and the other wonderful. I would suggest to you to follow the money, and if it's not money, look for any kind of profit that anybody might gain from any given situation, right? And you will get to the truth of the matter very, very quickly. And can I just very quickly also say that we keep getting these posts in the chat room from Agrohimsek. Agrohimsek. I'm sure I mispronounced that completely.
Yeah.
But they're in Russian. I'm sorry, I can read Cyrillic. That's good. I can't speak Russian. I would suggest anybody in the chat not to click on those links. Just a word of warning, because the person hasn't responded, so it's probably a bot.
Yeah.
And again, look, there's so many. Yeah, and so don't click on the links there. Or maybe if a moderator is on, maybe we can eject Agrohimsek, because he's not responding to any of my comments.
No,
so
they're not interacting with anybody.
Yeah, so let's see if we can eject them. Anyways, just a word of warning, because there's a lot of phishing going on. I got an SMS the other day. I showed it to my wife. I got an SMS, and it says it was from Nikki, apparently. I don't know Nikki. Maybe it's a common enough name where people think, oh yeah, he'll know Nikki. And it says, oh, I've seen your picture on Facebook. Click on this link if you want to meet. I'm thinking, wow.
Yeah, okay.
This is but it's a new level of ingenious. If you think about it, I mean, no longer am I offered millions by some Zairean prince or something, right?
Where you're the only heir.
The only heir.
That's right.
No, now it's Nikki who saw my picture on Facebook and wants to talk to me.
Oh.
But you have to admit it. I mean, it's a new level of ingenious to come up with these kinds of things, right? Because it's all about social engineering and phishing, right? So guys and girls, please be careful. It doesn't really matter about what medium you use. Just be careful what you click on. And if you don't know the person, or if it looks too good to be true, or whatever it might be, do not follow the link.
Yeah, that's bad. Did you know, Mackie, whether it's a URL on a phone, that they're going to have a shot of like 1 in 4. 1 in 4 of the person. So if it's a URL that's only for iPhone, yep, and you've got an iPhone, bang, they might root the phone and be able to access things on the phone that you're not aware of, or take control of it. Worse than that, they can just put a virus on there and make calls when you're asleep. If you wear a like a Fitbit or a device like that can see your circadian rhythms, then they'll know when you're asleep. Think about that for a minute.
Yes.
So, if you had an Android phone, or if you're still lucky enough to own one and keep it in and send it to the Smithsonian when you're done, a Windows phone, or BlackBerry for that matter. My friend went and bought one of those Windows phones as soon as it came out. He goes, he's going to be so awesome. And he went to the seminars and bought himself a phone outright, by the way. He didn't get on a plan. And then it wasn't very long after that before the announcement was, Microsoft are not going to continue their platform. Yeah, okay, so they bought Nokia, and they decided that's the end of that. Wow.
Well, I mean, but that's not the first time things like that's happening. I mean, remember the Palm Pilot?
Oh, yes.
And there were others that for HP bought that.
The HP one, I remember that.
Exactly,
one.
Right? I
It's
mean,
like an inch thick.
It is. It is. It's let's buy it and then kill it. That's a good purchase. It's like buying a car only to take a sledgehammer to it, right? makes sense to me. Perfect sense, in fact, right? So, there's the music. Don't go away, guys. We're going to talk about Kamla after the break.
Hans Kamla.
Or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Hello and welcome back to Dave and Maggie's Charity Side Out, show number 314. 410 and 300. Get yourself some great merchandise from the station's website. Buy a CD of your favorite host shows, or maybe even EMP-proof thumb drive, seed pack if you wanted to. You could donate as well. Naturally, that's a good thing. Now, I don't think the dial-in number is still the same. But if you're using Skype and you want to dial into the show, you can add Freedom Screen. Freedom Screen, or one word, 4 E's. One word, 4 E's. And if you live in Kentucky, you can pick us up on FM. That's right. WZZR 101.3. WZZR 101.3. I love saying that. Now, if you can donate, please do. This is, in fact, a listener-supported radio station, completely listener-supported radio station. And if you like what you hear, not just us, but everybody else as well, of course, Solaris before us, she's awesome, and Gerber after us, who's also awesome, then please donate, because guess what? It is your money that keeps the station going. And no, we do not get paid. We're not getting rich on this, not yet. But if anybody wants to bribe me and pay me off, I'm all ears. I am. It's true. And well, actually, I don't know, Dave. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know, right? I know, right? I don't know if I would be willing to be paid off or not. I mean, if somebody came along and said, hey, I better give you some money to stop talking, I think to myself, well, what is it that I'm saying that you want me to stop saying, right? Because it'd be like
something in particular,
right?
Yeah.
But because it'd be a blanket thing. It'd be a blanket thing. It reminds me of that movie Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson. I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's actually pretty good. And eventually, he's got this little, like a newsletter he sends out with different conspiracy theories. He himself is anyway. I don't want to spoil the movie. Watch it. But eventually, they come for him, right? They come for him, and he goes, "What was I right about? What was it?
That's right.
tell me which bit did I get right?" And the funny thing is, of course, that to be honest with you, that's what I would say. So, hey, okay then, which show, what topic? Come on, which one hit a nerve? But having said that, both Dave and I are sufficiently invisible, and certainly our audience isn't in the millions. I don't think. Oh, it might be. Who the hell knows, right? But we're not making enough waves. Certainly, that's a fact. And that's why I guess people are leaving us alone, more or less. Dave, how did you enjoy your break just now?
Oh, that's a funny question.
I know,
did.
right?
I took a sip of my wonderful chili beverage, and I didn't donate because I'm already contributing to the station in my access to the archives for only $5.95 a month.
That's right.
That's what I did.
It's awesome. It is awesome.
I sent Mickey an image of how many flat Earth videos there are on YouTube. It's 4.8 million. Right, so that's really funny. And also, I got some new NBN this week. I changed providers. There's 3 days of hell. You don't want to go through it.
Right.
Make your choice and stick with them, I say. Took 3 days to get the home phone back again.
Is that right?
Yeah, I just don't understand how it could be so darn difficult.
It's just crazy, dude.
But anyway, having said that, look, I got an extra 10 megabits per second. Woo!
That's okay. That's okay.
So now I've got 70 meg per second download. That's pretty good. I like it.
That's not bad at all. That's actually pretty good, dude.
It's not bad at all. It's like 30 meg upload.
Apparently, I get the NBN in 2020. Hooray!
Hey! I'm doing the wave, Mickey. I'm standing out of my chair with my hands up.
Dude, I'm so waving with you right now, man. we're so in sync. I mean, if you can't see, too bad, guys. But this is it's just a poetry in motion. Is what this is.
That's what it is. So I'm pretty much done with all my news.
Yeah, me too. All good.
We're entering, and Mickey will give you all the warnings. We're entering a tinfoil hat zone.
Yes, we are.
And I want you to know what you have to do. I want you to know how you have to think and how you have to react to it. But before, Mickey, what's the safety guidelines?
Look, we are entering the tinfoil hat zone. Please stay in your vehicle, all right? Suspend your reality modules. Keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle. And Dave?
No flash photography.
Because you will definitely startle the Yetis and the Sasquatches and the Almas and the Bigfoots. So none of that. Okay,
guess what? We found, I think Costco are offering a prepper's kit.
Is that right?
A prepper's kit of everything that you need to buy in one purchase, a single purchase, to last you 6 months or a year's worth of food. It's like between $6,000 and $8,000. I don't remember, but they'll deliver it directly to your door, and you don't even have to go in store for it.
Really?
Yeah,
That's pretty
that is
nifty.
so awesome.
I just might get that.
Good on you, Costco, for coming to the party.
Is that in Australia as well, or just
Yep.
the States?
Yeah, it's here too.
Oh, sweet.
And I have to say, guess who alerted me to it?
I don't know.
My lovely, long-suffering partner. She
Oh,
did.
nice. Very nice. That's actually not a bad idea. If it comes in a crate, I'll be very happy. But I'm gonna right after the show. In fact, I will Google it.
Probably
Everybody
takes
out
the whole
there,
car space.
it does. Oh, that's
It
okay.
probably does, yeah.
Oh, look, let's have a look. What it is. I mean, of course, what interests me is food that lasts forever. That's really. So honey and olive oil, guys. If you're wondering, honey, olive oil. That's what'll keep you going. Fat and sugar. But very quickly to the show here. So yes, it is a tinfoil head zone. Only in as much as we're delving into it more deeply, you will see how our view of reality is not quite compatible necessarily with what actually happened. And like I said last week, it is very important to understand that we think the Germans found something in all of their expeditions everywhere, here, there, and including me. So they went to the Andes, they went to Tibet, they went to the Middle East, they went to a whole bunch of different places in the world looking for something.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, and I believe they actually found something. Right? What they find, well, that's the question. But I do believe that Hans Kammler was intimately involved. Now, Hans Kammler, and you're again forgiven if you've never heard of him. Now let's listen to last week's show. One of the highest-ranking Nazis at the time of the end of the war, and there, which we covered last week, we'll cover it again. Conflicting reports of his death, and a very interesting character altogether. I'm going to quickly. I'll do his early life, and then Dave is going to do the role in advanced weapons. So Hans Kammler was born in 1901, same age as my grandfather, and allegedly died in 1945. He was a German civil engineer and SS commander, and he oversaw the SS construction project that included the concentration camps. And towards the end of World War II, he was put in charge of the V-2 missile and jet programs and all the other Wunderwaffen projects that they had going. He was born in Stettin, which was near where my family is from, which is now, in fact, in Poland. It's part of the German Empire back then. In 1919, after volunteering for army service, he served in the Rossbach Freikorps from 1919 to 1923. He studied civil engineering at the Technische Hochschule der Freien Stadt Danzig. So he was in Danzig, which is it's something else now, a different name, can't remember. But it's in Poland as well, and Munich. And he was awarded his Doctor of Engineering in November 1932, following some years of practical work in local building administration. Kammler joined the Nazi Party in 1931 and held a variety of administrative positions after the Nazi government came to power in 1933. Initially as head of the Aviation Ministry's building department. He joined the SS on May 20, 1933. In 1934, he was a counselor for the Reichs Interior Ministry. In 1934, he was also the leader of the Reichsbund der Kleingärtner und Kleinsiedler, which was the German Reichs Federation of Small Gardeners and Landowners. A little incongruous, I guess, but it's hilarious nonetheless. World War II. In 1941, Kammler joined the Waffen-SS, which was an elite group within the SS. Kammler eventually became Oswald Pohl's deputy of the SS main economic and administrative office. He oversaw Office D, which was the administration of the concentration camp system. He was in charge. So this is, sorry, I have to pause here for a second. This is what I don't get. This is the guy who was in charge of the administration of all of the concentration camps, a building as well, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And yet he was not pursued. I guess, because they thought he was dead. No, I don't think so. And he was also chief of Office C, which designed and constructed all the concentration and extermination camps. So not just only administered them, he also designed and built them. So in my book, that's the kind of dude that you want to get, right? If you're looking for Nazis post World War II, this is the kind of guy we're going, hey, I want to get that guy, right? He's the guy I want to get. In this later capacity, he oversaw the installation of more efficient cremation facilities. I have to say this again because I need to emphasize.
They're not efficient enough.
No, well, they weren't. They didn't burn enough bodies. Mm-hmm. So he made them more efficient. At Auschwitz, in fact, Auschwitz-Birkenau. That's where he installed more efficient cremation facilities. And there was, in fact, a project undertaken as the camp was converted from a labor camp to an extermination camp. So that's the guy, guys. That's the guy. Now, not a nice guy in anyone's book, if you think about it, right? And I don't care what you say about, oh, no, he was just doing his job. Yeah, sure. Right? But these are, I mean, there's doing a job and there's doing a job, right? Some jobs you just shouldn't do. But the point here is, this was a fairly senior, a fairly serious, and a fairly, I would say, prime target for capture. But what happened in his role on advanced weapons projects, Dave?
Before the beginning of World War II, there are no indications that Kammler was involved in any advanced engineering projects, apart from his educational background. Also, in the early years of the war, nothing suggests his involvement in any weapons projects. So no engineering and no weapons projects history. Clear links between Kammler and advanced weapon projects seem to appear only in 1942. Early evidence of this is a letter from Oswald Pohl to Heinrich Himmler, referring an interdepartmental memorandum of the manufacturing of modern weapons in concentration camps, having Kammler as one of those participants. Kammler was also charged with constructing facilities for various secret weapons projects, including manufacturing plants and test stands for the Me-262, the Messerschmitt, and the V-2 rocket, if you don't know what the V-2 is. Following the Allied bombings, raids on Peenemünde in Operation Hydra. This was in August of 1943. Kammler assumed responsibility for the construction of mass production facilities for the V-2. He started moving these production facilities underground, which resulted in Mittelwerk facility. Oh, I'm sorry, Mittel. Is it Mittelwerk, Mackie? Mittelwerk?
Yeah, I think, that's it. Yeah.
Thank you. Facility and its attendant concentration camp complex, because they use the slave labor. Mittelbau, Dora, which housed slave labor for constructing the factory and working on the production lines. The project was pushed ahead under enormous time pressures despite the consequences for the slave laborers employed on it. Kammler's motto at the time was reportedly, "Don't worry about the victims. The work must proceed ahead in the shortest time possible." That usually meant people were dying. Terrible state of affairs. Albert Speer made Kammler his representative for, and in quotes, special construction tasks, expecting that Kammler would commit himself to working in harmony with the ministry's main construction committee. But in March 1944, Kammler had Göring appoint him as his delegate for special buildings under the fighter aircraft program. So looks like he was snatched away, headhunted, if you will, which made him one of the war's economy's most important managers and robbed Speer of much of his influence. Mackie, what about the final years?
Yep, after the Reich's failure to attain a victory against the USSR, Kammler started to answer for an ever-growing amount of projects. So the more dire the situation became, the more powerful or influential he became, it seems. Most of them related to construction and engineering. Concentration camps, means of mass extermination, factories, labor management, underground facilities of various purposes, and tank construction were some of the hallmarks of his early years in the SS hierarchy. As far as it is known, he also directly supervised several project bureaus and had direct contact with some of the best engineers of the Reich. For example, Ferdinand Porsche. That's right, that Porsche. As a person, he was characterized by one of his subordinates, a pure workaholic, completely given to his work with a fanatic rhythm in demanding the same for everyone else. So the kind of guy you do not want to work for. In 1944, Himmler convinced Adolf Hitler to put the V2 project directly under SS control. And on August 8, Kammler replaced Walter Dornberger as its director. From January 31, 1945, Kammler was head of all missile projects. During this time, he also partially answered for the operational use of the V2 against the Allies, until the moment the war front reached Germany's borders. As an SS officer, Kammler was the last person in Nazi Germany to be appointed to the rank of SS Obergruppenführer. That's the general. That's the general's rank. In March 1945, partially under the advice of Goebbels, Hitler gradually stripped Göring of several powers on aircraft support, as well as maintenance and supply, while transferring them to Kammler. This culminated in the beginning of April by Kammler being raised to Führer's general plenipotentiary for jet aircraft. So he was the dude in charge of all jet aircraft matters. In late March 1945, Kammler was responsible for ordering his Z V2 division to execute 200 men, women, and children, which were the forced laborers and their families, after his car was held up on a crowded road in Sauerland, which is in southern Germany. Kammler felt Germans were under some vague threat from them as they trudged eastwards to escape the Allied bombing. And this is what he said. I'm quoting, "This riffraff ought to be eliminated," was his reported comment. On April 1, 1945, Kammler ordered the evacuation of 500 missile technicians to the Alps. Again, down in the south of Germany. Since the last V2 on the Western Front had been launched in late March, on April 5, Kammler was charged by the Oberkommando der Wehrmacht, which was the main command of the German army, to command the defense of the Nordhausen area. However, rather than defend the missile construction works, he immediately ordered the destruction of all the special V1 equipment at the Syke storage site. What exactly this order implies is not clear. So rather than defend the missile construction works, he ordered the destruction of the special V1 equipment. Now, was it the V1 equipment that was destroyed? Was it the Nazi bell? Was it something else? I don't know. Dave, his death is odd though, right?
Proof statement. On the 9th of July 1945, Kammler's widow petitioned to have him declared dead as of 9th of May 1945. She provided a statement by Kammler's driver, Kurt Pruk, according to which Pruk had personally seen the corpse of Kammler and had been present at his burial on the 9th of May 1945. That's why she asked for it. The District Court of Berlin, Charlottenburg, ruled on the 7th of December 1948, some 3 years later, that his death was officially established, and they agreed upon it the 9th of May 1945. In a later sworn statement on the 16th of October 1959, Pruk stated that Kammler's date of death was about the 10th of May 1945, but that he did not know the cause of death. On the 7th of September 1965, Heinz Züner, a wartime aide of Kammler's, stated that Kammler had died on the 7th of May 1945, yet another 2 days prior to his official noted death, and that his corpse had been observed by Züner, Pruk and others, corroborating the story. All the eyewitnesses consulted were certain that the cause of death was cyanide poisoning. I'm sure that that would be evident. Somehow, I'm not familiar with it. In their accounts of Kammler's movements, Pruk and Züner claimed that he had left Linderhof near Oberum. Oh, geez, it gets me every time, Mickey. Hang on, I'll get it. Oberum Murgau on the 28th. Thank you very much. I'm a terrible tourist. On the 28th of April 1945 for a tank conference at Salzburg, and then went to Ebensee, where tanks' tracks were manufactured. Obviously, he's overseeing this production of tanks. According to Pruckenzuna, he then travelled back from Ebensee to visit his wife in the Tyrol region, where he gave her 2 cyanide tablets. The next day, the 5th of May, around about 4 a.m., he is said to have departed Tyrol for Prague. Werner von Braun, also at the time, he was there as well, at the same place where the tank conference was going on. And later reported to having overheard a discussion between Kammler and his aide, in which Kammler said he planned to hide in nearby Etal Abbey. Kammler and his followers then left town, according to Braun. Further evidence of Kammler's activities is a telegraph from Kammler to Speer, Himmler and Göring of the 16th of April, informing them of the creation of the Message Center at Munich and the appointment of a chief representative for the construction of the Messerschmitt ME-262, which we talked about earlier. On the 20th of April, he reportedly arrived with a group of technicians at Himmler's it's a command cell near Salzburg. On the 23rd of April, Kammler sent a radio message to his office manager at Berlin, ordering him to organise an immediate destruction of the V1 equipment near Berlin, and then go to Munich. In late April, early May, Kammler was reported at the Villa Mendelsbaum at Ebensee, the site of the projects assigned to him. One of the projects, by the way. On the 4th of May, he ordered the immediate transfer of the Ebensee office to Prague. Looks like he was evacuating it.
Yep.
Pruckenzuna maintained their version of events through the 1990s. When interviewed by journalist Christian Nack, some support for this version of events came from letters written by Egenborg, Elix, Prinzessin, Ju Schamberg-Lipp, a female member of the SS, to Kammler's wife went the letter, 1951 and 1955. In these, she affirmed that Kammler had said goodbye to her on the 7th of May 1945 in Prague, stating that the Americans were after him, and they'd made him offers, but that he had refused, and that they would not get him alive. He quoted. He's quoted in those letters.
Yeah, that's interesting, though, isn't it? I mean, clearly he's a very successful. I mean, any which way in the slice, a successful, intelligent, sure, and certainly the kind of guy that the I guess either the OSS, which is the forerunner of the CIA, or the Russians would like on their side. Clearly, one of the people that actually got. I mean, there are people that gave the orders, like Himmler and Göring and Hitler, right? They didn't actually do anything. They just gave orders in a way, right? Whereas Kammler was on the next layer down, if you will, that actually got things done. So without people like Kammler, the whole Nazi bureaucracy, the whole German Reich would have fallen on its face, because it needed people like that got things moving. It's one thing to give orders and have great and lofty ideas. It's another thing to be the person that actually makes those ideas real.
Some of those ideas were quite lofty. Mackie, the other point is he had the hands-on at each one of these, Wunderweapons, all the Wonder Weapon sites.
Yes,
he was there in the creation and management of these weapons.
Correct. So
he's a high-value target.
The highest value target. Now, look, and this last sentence there, where of course, that's what he would say. He would say, yes, I'm in fact, I said, no, they're going to get me alive. Even if he was thinking of joining them, he would never leave a trail. I mean, that's just smart. That's smart.
He'd be killed by his own people if he said, by the way, I've taken their offer.
Well, look, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Now, then there's a little section about him in Prague. In fact, it's taken from the book Werner von Braun, written in 1969 by Bernd Ruland. The book, as I said, Werner von Braun. Mein Leben für die Raumfahrt, which means my life for space travel, Werner von Braun. So like a biography, I guess. It reports an altogether different account of Kammler's death. Altogether different. According to Ruland, Kammler arrived in Prague by aircraft on May 4, 1945. Following which he and 21 SS men defended a bunker against an attack by more than 500 Czech resistance fighters on May 9. During the attack, Kammler's aide-de-camp, Sturmbannführer Stark, shot Kammler to avoid him falling into enemy hands. This version can reportedly be traced to Walter Dornberger, who in turn is said to have heard it from eyewitnesses. So, let's pause here for a second, Dave, right? So already there are discrepancies around his death. I mean, they all center on, beginning of May 7, May 9, May 10, whatever it might be. Now you could argue that was the wartime and things, people, got things wrong. But we have people here that knew him saying these things, right? Eyewitnesses stating certain things about here. What this version is radically different from cyanide poisoning. I mean, what do you die of? Lead poisoning to the head, right?
In the left ear.
In the left ear. So very different scenarios already, right? And then we enter now the search for Kammler. U.S. occupation forces conducted various inquiries into Kammler's whereabouts. Of course they would, beginning with the headquarters of 12th Army ordering a complete inventory of all personnel involved in missile production on May 21, 1945. This resulted in the creation of a file for Kammler, stating that he was possibly in Munich. The CIC noted that he had been seen shortly prior to the arrival of U.S. troops in Oberjoch, which is, again, a place down in southern Germany. The Combined Intelligence Objective Subcommittee, the CIOS, in London ordered a search for him in early July 1945. Allegedly, probably it's 2 or 3 months after his death. 12th Army replied that he was last seen on April 8 or 9 in the Harz region. Right, in the Harz region. In August, Kammler's name made list 13 of the UN for Nazi war criminals. Only in 1945 did the CIOS receive the information that Kammler reportedly fled to Prague and had committed suicide. Original blueprints of Kammler's major projects were later found in the personal property of Samuel Goldsmith, the scientific leader of the Alsos mission. In 1949, a report written by one Oskar Packe on Kammler was filed by the U.S. Denazification Office in Hesse. The report stated that Kammler had been arrested by U.S. troops on May 9, 1945 at the Messerschmitt Works at Oberammergau. However, Kammler and some other senior SS personnel had managed to escape in the direction of Austria, Italy. Packe disbelieved the reports about suicide, as these were refuted by the detailed information from the CIC about arrest and escape. Okay, already you can see how the official story of the death is falling apart. First of all, different death dates now. Well, no, he was arrested on that day, but he got away, or so they think. A CIC report from April 1946 listed Kammler among SS officers known to be outside Germany and considered to be of special interest to the CIC. Now, sorry to be interrupting again, but in where is it? They learned about his death, 1948. In 1948, they learned about his death, but in 1946, they weren't aware of his death yet, so it seems, right? And they looked for him outside Germany. Now, and he's listed among SS officers that were known to be outside of Germany. In mid-July 1945, the head of the Gmunden SCIC office, Major Morrison, interviewed an unnamed German on the issue of a numbered account associated with construction sites for plane and missile production, formerly run by the SS. A report published years later, in late 1947 or early 1948, stated that only Kammler and 2 other persons had access to the account. The report also said that shortly after the occupation, Hans Kammler appeared at CSC Gmunden and gave a statement on operations at Ebensee. Okay, so again, evidence is mounting that he was neither killed by his aide, nor in fact did
Captured.
commit suicide, in fact. The CIC notes on the interview give no name, but the interviewee must have been one of the 3 people with access to the account, clearly. So it might have been Kammler. Now, aside from Kammler, one was known to have left Austria in May 1945, and the other was in a prisoner of war camp during July, which really only leaves Kammler. That's right.
That's right.
Give that man a banana. Now, finally, interestingly enough, Donald W. Richardson, who died in 1997, a former OSS special agent involved in the Alsos mission, and the OSS Office for Special Operations was the forerunner to the CIA as an organization. Now, he claimed to be the man who brought Kammler to the US. He claimed to be the man who brought Kammler to the US. Shortly before he died, Richardson reportedly told his sons about his experience during and after the war, including Operation Paperclip, which we all know is a real thing. Conspiracy there, Dave. There's not a conspiracy. Operation Paperclip. Right? According to the sons, to his sons, Richardson claimed to have supervised Kammler until 1947. 2 years. 2 years after his alleged death. Kammler was supposedly interned at a place of maximum security with no hope, no mercy, and without seeing the light of day until he hanged himself. Now, be that as it may, let's see. Now, Dave.
Just before I say that, I have to say that DJM in the chat room has said, of course, Martin Bormann was cashing checks at the Bank of New York until 1960.
That's exactly right.
Right?
That's right.
So, and we know, Werner von Braun, head of NASA's rocketry program. That's so the continuation. I think the Nazis went to the moon, Mickey. Anyway, German scientific discovery went there. That's what happened.
Yep.
I'm going to remove that show 314 comment that I've got because we've gone past that now. Possible last documented independent testimonies. A purported section of a wartime diary relating to the surrender of the mountain resort town, Garmisch-Partenkirchen.
Very good.
It's easy like that. To Allied troops. I hope I get a gold star at the end. Mentions Kammler and his staff. According to this account, Kammler and what the author refers to as his staff of some 600 people with good quality cars and trucks arrived at Oberammergau, north of Garmisch, north of where they were, on the 22nd of April 1945. This is before May, Meki.
Yes, it is.
And then you've got a comment.
Oh, look, I've added the original German excerpt from the diary as an appendix to our show notes.
Awesome. This arrival had been badly received and the local authorities had several arguments with Kammler himself. These conflicts are mentioned in the entries for the 23rd and the 25th of April. The last reference implicating only Kammler's staff comes on the night of the 28th of April. An Oberlieutenant Berger reports that he had gone on the same night that American forces began storming Oberammergau, forcing their way to Garmisch and Austria.
Yep. So now it gets actually more interesting. There's another article which we found, which is really, really good. It was written by Steve Mack, and it was in fact in 2016, so a couple of years ago. So I have abridged it, so you're not going to get the full article. It's abridged. If you wish to read the full article, there's a link, of course, in the show notes to the article itself. But it's a very interesting article. It's also well researched, I think. So that's why we want to share it with you. It has a lot of information, right? So bear with us. I don't think we'll get through it today, which is okay. That's all right. We don't have to get through it today. Obviously next week as well. But it certainly is a very, very interesting piece of work. Again, use it to do your own research, right? You can start on it. But this is the article is called "The Mystery of the Missing Nazi General," again by Steve Mack, and it's abridged. As the situation in the Third Reich became more desperate, some of this research moved into esoteric and even occult areas. In particular, the SS were involved in projects which still in mystery. One of these projects was overseen by Hans Kammler, an SS general, which is Obergruppenführer, an engineer who became for a time one of the most powerful men in Hitler's Germany and one of the most wanted men in Europe, which we've just learned ourselves. The precise nature of the work he was involved in towards the end of the war has provoked intense speculation, with suggestions ranging from the development of nuclear weapons to design and manufacture of a flying saucer. Now, clearly not flying saucer, but rather an advanced spacecraft or a Vimana type object. Whatever it was that he was working on, Kammler disappeared in May 1945. And there are at least 3 contradictory and conflicting accounts of his death, and his body was never found. That's also important. His body wasn't found. And as we have just learned, you've now got the detail on the conflicting and contradictory accounts of his death. Right? Poisoning, being shot by someone. So, what was it? But it's not just that disappearance that the title of the article refers to, which is the mystery of the missing Nazi general. One of the most intriguing things about Hans Kammler is the way in which his name also disappeared from the historical record. And that's really the important thing. That's why I like this article. That's why we chose it for the show. Kammler is almost unique among senior Nazis, and particularly those close to Himmler, because you will find him almost completely absent from the plethora of books and papers written about Nazi Germany, which appeared after the war, and he was barely mentioned during the Nuremberg Nazi trials. Even now, many people who are familiar with the history of Nazi Germany remain unaware of Kammler. So here we have 3 mysteries for the price of 1, right? Just who was Obergruppenführer General, well, it's the same really, Dr. Engineer Hans Friedrich Karl Franz Kammler, his full name. Why has he vanished from most historical accounts of World War II? And what precisely was he doing in the mountains of Lower Silesia in 1945 and 1944? Lower Silesia, by the way, is also where my family is from, Niederschlesien. Actually, we're from Upper Silesia, Oberschlesien. So he was near. He was near where my family was back. Well, who knows? My grandparents might have crossed paths with him. Dave.
They may very well have. Which paragraph? What's the beginning word of the paragraph?
By 1931, sir.
By 1931, the NSDAP, the Nazi Party, was on the way to its domination of the German political scene, which led to Hitler becoming Chancellor in 1933. For an ambitious young man, an association with the growing power of the Nazi Party could provide a significant career boost. On March the 1st, 1932, Kammler joined the Nazi Party. His membership number, if you're interested, is 1,011,855. Later that month, he was formally awarded the title of Doctor of Engineering. Wow, that's pretty good. Only a month. Gee, they get promoted fast in that organisation. By the Hanover Technical Academy. During 1932 and the early part of 1933, he became increasingly involved with the Nazi Party as an organiser and administrator of building projects, and in early 1933 he became a member of the board of directors for the Nazi-controlled Heimat Gemeinnützig Bau und Siedlungs, HE, the Homeland Building and Housing Cooperative. There's Germans all around the world with their hands over their ears saying la la la, not listening to Dave's pronunciation. Running around in circles, frantic. On the 20th of May 1933, Kammler joined the SS with the rank of Untersturmführer, the lowest rank for a commissioned officer in that organisation, and roughly equivalent to lieutenant. Joining the USS as a junior officer may seem like a strange move for an ambitious civil engineer and project manager, but it actually made perfect sense in the topsy-turvy world of Nazi Germany. Himmler's SS was growing ever more powerful, and although it was primarily a paramilitary organisation, It was also involved in civil engineering and environmental projects in which Kammler's experience proved very useful. Kammler served in such SS-sponsored groups as the Reich Garden and Settlement Association, the Agricultural Settlements Group, and the Reich Environmental Planning Office. Kammler's enthusiasm and energy were as much appreciated by the SS as they had been in the civil service and by June 1939 he had been promoted several times to a rank, oh please say this one for me, Mackie.
Obersturmbannführer.
Thank you very much. Which, Lieutenant Colonel. As well as being appointed as lecturer in ideological studies in the Berlin SS Police School. Following the outbreak of World War II, Kammler transferred to active service with Waffen-SS in April of 1940, where he became commander of AMT-3, which is construction, and was promoted once again, this time to Standartenführer, which is colonel. Oh my goodness.
He did well.
Mackie.
In June 1941, Kammler was appointed as commander of Amtsgruppe C, which was construction. He was promoted yet again, this time to Oberführer, which is brigadier general. And his career in the SS took him in a much darker direction as he assumed responsibility for the construction and enlargement of concentration camps, including the design and construction of gas chambers and crematoria. His success, you hear me? His success in these projects led to his appointment to oversee a number of critical construction projects, including the building of underground construction facilities for V2 rockets at Nordhausen in Thüringen, one of the largest underground factories ever built anywhere, and the construction of an underground factory for the production of Me-262 jet aircraft near Mauthausen, which also had an associated concentration camp, Mauthausen. In 1944, Kammler also inherited from Albert Speer the responsibility for one of the most mysterious Nazi projects of World War II, Project Riese, meaning giant, which involved the construction of a number of massive underground complexes in the mountains of Lower Silesia. And when I say mysterious, we still don't know what Project Giant or Project Riese was all about. Bear in mind as well that this construction of these underground facilities, right, it was a lot of work, and to some extent it makes sense that they used slave labor, because it was just horrific the conditions they worked in. They would work them to the death. But they had to in order to finish what they needed to finish, right? That's how bad it was. Kammler's rapid rise in the SS became meteoric, and by March 1945 he was promoted to Obergruppenführer and general of the Waffen-SS, and he was the only person, as we mentioned, to be promoted to that rank in that year. He had also been awarded a number of medals, culminating in the Knight's Cross of the War Merit Cross with Swords. I'll give you the German title. Ritterkreuz des Kriegsverdienstkreuzes mit Schwertern, which was the highest Nazi award for non-combat soldiers. And that happened in 1945. By the end of the war, Kammler was responsible for a number of critical projects, many of which involved the use of forced and slave labor. It was estimated that at one point, Kammler was directly responsible for more than 4 million people within the Third Reich. And I want you to listen to the next one very clearly. His extensive use of prisoners of war and slave laborers in construction projects, and his readiness to have those who were no longer needed or who were unable to work executed, meant that he was identified by the Allies as one of the most wanted German war criminals. It is claimed that at one time he was third on that list, right behind Himmler and Hitler. What precisely happened to Kammler at the end of World War II is still not clear. On April 4th, 1945, British troops occupied an underground bunker in Espelkamp, 10 kilometers north of Lübeck in Germany. There they discovered a number of staff cars, some of which appeared to have been used by Kammler and his staff. According to some accounts, they also found Kammler's decomposing body in a water tank in the bunker. There's another story. However, this seems to be an error, as there is good evidence that Kammler had an extended meeting with Albert Speer on April 13th, and orders originating from Kammler continued to be issued until the end of April. In another account, Kammler was said to have been killed in a bunker in Prague in May 1945 and was overrun by Czech partisans. We've heard about that. Possibly when he was shot by his own adjutant on Kammler's orders to stop him falling into the hands of the partisans. Possibly during combat. Accounts differ. In yet another version, as we learned earlier as well, Kammler left Prague in a convoy heading south on May 9th. World War II in Europe officially ended on May 8th with the unconditional surrender of all German forces. But killed himself by taking cyanide, or by shooting himself. Again, accounts differ. And he was on the way to Písek in southern Czechoslovakia, where the rest of the group surrendered to American troops. In 1948, Kammler's widow, Jutta Kammler, petitioned the court in Berlin to have her husband declared dead as of May 9th, 1945. She included a sworn statement, as we learned earlier as well, provided by Kammler's driver as Oberscharführer Kurt Preuck, who claimed that he had driven the car in which Kammler had left Prague and that he had been present on May 9th, 1945, when Kammler ordered the car to pull off the road in the forested area to the south of Prague before shooting himself. Preuck said that he and other members of the entourage then buried Kammler's body in a shallow grave before continuing on their way. On September 7th, 1948, the District Court of Berlin, Charlottenburg, ruled, in fact, that his death was established as in May 9th, 1945. Dave?
So that's the day after the Germans had put their hands in the air.
Yes, that's correct.
I still have a problem with that. The war's finished.
I know, right?
I mean, the war's finished, right?
Yes. No, I'm with you.
It's not like you're that Japanese, not like the Japanese guy that's in a hole somewhere, or in one of the Pacific Islands, who doesn't know the war is finished.
Yeah.
He would know the war is finished.
Yeah, absolutely.
If the war's finished, you only need escape. You only need to escape the clutches, not of the captors, but of your party, and you're free. He would have known perfectly about paperclip. He claimed to have been offered it.
Of course, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. So, just before I go on, I just want to say, do you think the important part of the story is to have just declared himself dead?
Yes.
All right.
Look, unfortunately, it seems he probably employed the help of a number of people to spread rumors of his death. And if it was to confuse, maybe, but certainly it actually didn't help. Like, certainly, look, we are questioning this now, right? And unintentionally, he may have caused that. Because if you've got only one story of death, sweet.
Maybe he told a whole bunch of people in case they were going to be killed.
Yeah.
And they all came up with a different story. So what happened to Hans Himmler? The most popular theory about Hans Himmler is that he did not die at the end of the war, but that he was spirited away by the Allies as part of Operation Paperclip.
Yep.
That I declare this is most likely. Operation Paperclip was a real operation in which prominent Nazi scientists and engineers were selected by US and British intelligence services for their potential contribution to post-war projects. And I have to say, it's not only those, also the Russians were doing the same thing. Everyone got their hands in and was divvying up the pie. Probably the most well-known people involved in Paperclip were Werner von Braun and Dr. Walter Robert Dornberger.
Yeah.
Both involved in the Nazi V2 development program at the end of the war. Both were taken to America to continue their work on rocketry, as we've mentioned earlier. Dornberger eventually became vice president of the Bell Aircraft Corporation, and von Braun ended his career as deputy associate administrator for planning of NASA. NASA!
There you go. What? It's true.
It is. Von Braun was also Sturmbannführer Major in the the SS, which proved no impediment to his subsequent career in the US.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Dismiss that straight away.
Yep.
Dismissed. Oh, well, we just wiped it.
He's useful. He's useful. Now shut up.
Yeah, I like the shut up theory. Towards the end of World War II, Hitler ordered that a number of the top German scientists would be executed to avoid their falling into the hands of the Allies. In April 1945, von Braun and Dornberger were nervously awaiting their fate in the Garmisch area of Germany when they were unexpectedly rescued by Hans Himmler.
Whoa.
He's a hero, Becky.
That's what happened.
I'll let you take it to the top of the hour.
Okay. Many people like to imagine that Kamala was captured by the Allies and given a new identity under Operation Paperclip. They also suggest that this is the reason Kamala's name disappeared from the most wanted list so quickly, and why he doesn't appear in post-war paperwork. But this doesn't really make any practical sense according to this author. The people targeted on the paperclip were scientists and engineers with theoretical and practical knowledge of new technologies. Kamala was simply a brutally efficient project manager with knowledge and experience of civil engineering, and it's very difficult to see why this would have been of sufficient value in the post-war world to overlook his involvement in large numbers of deaths and executions. Even his involvement in the mysterious Project Riese and Project Kronos, both of which we'll actually go into some detail later, would only have been as an administrator under scientists. However, it has also been suggested that Kamala had access to documents relating to secret SS research, and that he may have traded these to the Allies for his freedom. Again, the author of this article is not convinced. Once the Allies had the documents, Kamala would have been of no further value to them. Now, I'm going to stop here for a sec, and then probably have to continue.
Yeah, I think we're going to run that for next week. Yeah.
So now this author here, has an opinion, which is cool. I got no issue with that. But I do believe that he's probably taking a simplistic approach, because the truth is Kamala would have had knowledge well beyond any other Nazi in Germany, and he would have been critical for the build-up of a similar bureaucracy or administrative organization in America if he had come across an Operation Paperclip, which I think he came across as, because again there was the case of the OSS officer who in fact said he did bring him across. So, and a further thing is Kamala's potential involvement with the Nazi Bell and the Reich of the Black Sun. I mean, there's some books here that you really should read, everybody. I've got them in my shelf behind me. I can't find them right now. I will dig them up for next week. But there's some really good research that was done in this space, and again, it is important to understand that it was the Nazi scientists, the Nazi engineers, the Nazi bureaucrats, and so forth, the Nazi spy masters, which gave the edge to both the USA and the USSR, okay, in every area of development. It was the people that were extracted from Germany. In the US, it was called Operation Paperclip. The Russians didn't call it anything; they just took them, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they didn't have to justify anything to the public; they just did what they did, right? And it was clearly those scientists, engineers, and so forth that pushed the space program both for the Russians and for the US. Okay, and you can see it. I mean, there was no space program in Russia or in America before World War II. It just didn't exist. Rockets are a German invention, or well, maybe a rediscovery, who knows? But certainly the V2 was a new thing. Jet fighters, or the jet engine, again, German, jet engine. Yeah, everybody else still had propeller planes.
So, Mackie, I've got one question. When you're a project manager of something,
yep,
you know every one of the components to the project.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Therefore, you understand the technology.
That's exactly right.
Oh, I know.
Now, thanks guys for listening. Yeah, look, this is, come back next week if you can. We're going to talk a lot more about Kamala.
Awesome. See you next week for show number 315. 315.